Hey, did you know that right validation techniques can cut down time users spend filling out the form by 42%? That's huge. So what should you do and avoid to make this happen and keep users from getting frustrated? To get this right, there are two key decisions to make. Where to display validation errors? Should it be a tooltip, a pop-up, message box, or inline text? When to display those errors? On button click, while typing, when a field gains or loses focus? Let's break it down, starting with where to display errors. Some developers display all errors at the bottom of the form or in a message box. That makes errors more noticeable, which is good. But there is a downside. Users have to scan the form and match each error with the corresponding field. And if you're using a message box, users have to read the message, remember it, close the message box and fix errors. That takes time. A better approach is to display validation errors near the field that caused the error. But how exactly? Tooltips might seem like a clean solution, but they're often not great. Why? Because users have to hover or focus the field to see what's wrong, and that takes extra time. If you've got the screen space, displaying errors in labels directly next to the input field is one of the most intuitive and user-friendly options. The only catch? It takes up space, which might be a problem in high-density line-of-business applications. So if you don't have much space, you may consider a persistent pop-up or callout. These can be useful, but be careful. They might cover nearby fields. One way to solve this is to make the pop-up collapsible, so users can hide them when necessary. If you're using WPF, you can download an example from the repository linked in the description. Alright, we know where to display errors. Equally important is to choose the right moment when to display them. A common mistake is displaying errors too early, for example, on focus. Way too soon. A user hasn't even started typing yet. It's like giving a pedestrian a ticket for crossing a road at a red light as soon as they approach the road. Another common option is to validate as users type. In most cases, this is still too early since users haven't completed typing yet, and displaying validation errors at this point can be annoying. However, it makes sense for field where invalid input is likely. For example, when users are choosing a unique username, real-time validation can be helpful because users don't need to switch focus or press a button just to check if a username is available. In most cases, validating a focus switch is the optimal solution, but it's important to validate only after changing a value. Otherwise, the following situation may occur. Imagine a user moves focus from field A to field B. They get an error from field A. Then they get back to fix it. And suddenly, field B throws an error, even though they haven't touched it yet. As a result, the user gets two validation errors in a row without even started typing. To avoid that, we need to validate only if a user has changed the input. For example, if they typed something, deleted it, and moved on. To enhance user experience further, we can provide real-time feedback as users type in a field with an error. That way, as soon as they fix the issue, they'll immediately see that the error is gone. No need to move focus just to check this. So we just saved a couple of additional seconds for a user. Of course, when users click the Submit or Save button, we need to validate the form as well. You could even rely on a button click alone, but it's usually better to combine that validation with focus loss. This way, users can catch and fix errors earlier without breaking their flow. Now we know where and when to display errors. But before we wrap up, here are a few important general tips. Don't disable the Submit button because of validation errors. If users miss a validation message, they'll be stuck wondering what went wrong. Just keep the button active and show a clear feedback when it's clicked. Don't force users to stay on an invalid field. Allow them to focus other controls. They might want to copy-paste a value from another field, or just come back to it later. For example, find their ID before they type its information into the field. The best way to handle errors is to prevent them before they even happen. No, we don't need to travel back in time for that. Just help users to understand what input you expect. Use visual hints like an asterisk for required fields, or say which are optional if all other fields are required. Be consistent across your app. Choose a validation style and stick to it throughout all your forms. It reduces cognitive load because users don't need to adapt to each edit form. And for my fellow WPF developers, there is a quick technical note. If you're using tab control, make sure to wrap each tab item's content in a donor layer. Otherwise, validation errors can disappear when switching tabs. There is a link in the description that explains why. And that's it for today. We all make mistakes, whether we're filling out forms or just going through life. What matters is having the right guidance to help us get everything fixed. If you learned something new, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to keep making your apps better. Thanks for watching. See you next time.